So today I've ridden out to beautiful sunny Redcliffe, which is 35 degrees Celsius today, on my Harley Davidson to test out the Aoocci C3 Plus and comparing that as a viable alternative to having my mobile phone on my handlebars with a quad lock mount. Let's talk about it. So this video is sponsored by Aoocci, who sent me the C3 Plus 5-inch display to test and review, providing it to me for free. Now, they were happy for me to say whatever I think about the product. They didn't have any restrictions. I could say whatever I like, both pros and cons, and we made that clear up front that I wouldn't review a product unless I could be open and honest about it. But of course, you have to consider I got the product for free and there may be some bias. Now, I will also have an affiliate link which will generate some income for me if you do purchase through that link, so you need to consider that I'm going to be as open and honest as I can with this product and give you my initial impressions of what I think of it compared to using a phone on my handlebars on my quad lock. Okay, so from when the video is published to the 5th of January 2026, you'll be able to get 28% off if you're interested in buying the Aoocci C3 Plus using TR28. That'll give you 28% off the price using that coupon code, and the link is in the description. After the 5th of January, you'll still be able to get a 22% discount using TR22 as the discount coupon. Use the link in the description below if you're interested. So I've broken this video out into a few different sections. I'm going to have chapters so you can skip through to the pieces that you want. So I've gone through what's in the box, the handlebar mount, the mounting of it to the screen, the vibration damper, using it on the bike, all those things, the tire pressure sensors. Skip through the sections you want. You can just move through and skip past the things you're not interested in. Thanks for watching. Okay, so this is the Aoocci C3 series. Now if we look, there is a few different C3 models. There's a C3, a C3 Pro, and this is the C3 Plus. So the C3 Plus has more options than the other ones, which I'll put on the screen here. But basically this is the latest iteration. It's part of the C3 series. Now just to look at the features that are available. So it is a touch screen. It's compatible with Apple Carplay and Android Auto wirelessly. You don't have to plug it in to your device. It has a resolution of 854 by 480 IPS screen, so should be able to view this at any angle. And its waterproof rating is IP67, so I believe that means fully dustproof and submergible in water. I think it's up to 1 meter. All right, let's unbox it and see what's inside. So it's got a decent box, not that that really matters, but I think it kind of says something about the quality. Like the quality of the box is good, makes you think that the quality of the product should match the packaging that they do, right? So they obviously care about their packaging. So here we have the screen, it's mounted. Let's look at the back. There's nothing there, there's just an opening. And it has got a fixed cable in the back here. All right, let's look at what else is in the box. So you do get a mounting plate. It's a vibration dampener for the screen with some bolts and stuff in there. We get some ties and some tools in here. Little screwdriver, I'm not sure what that's for. We get some instructions, the mounting bracket to mount to your bars. We get a power cable that can be connected directly to your power source, your battery, so it comes on with the power of your bike and turns off when you turn your bike off. We get a USB connector with big block here. It's a bit chunky, but it is what it is, and a connector to connect to the screen with a USB connection. We get the tire pressure monitoring valve caps. Now they're marked A and B for front and rear. I believe A is front and B is rear. Oh, we actually have a little tool in here for that, and it also comes with a locking nut just to lock that in once you've got it on. And we get a screen protector to protect the screen. So typically what you might expect from a screen protector, and it's got the installation instructions on how to mount that. Now there's a couple of things I want to look at in a bit more detail, and that is the mounting bracket. So it has a few pieces. Okay, we can see all the pieces now for the mounting bracket. So I'll say these are metal. So these are metal brackets. It's not ringing, but pretty sure that's metal. So that's the brackets. One of these has a threaded mounting point here on one end where the other one doesn't. So that'll be important. The other one's just straight through. Because we have two different size bolts here. One has a nut. The washer's probably for this bigger one. And we'll have to put that together. Now you've got these spaces here. So depending on how thick your handlebars are or where you're trying to mount this, you've got these little mounting brackets here with, you know, more or less spacing. So if you want this one here, it's quite open versus this fatter one here, which is obviously much more narrow. And they are just like a harder plastic. They have a little bit of flex to them. So there's that. And they will fit inside here. So they've got some notches and they just lock in there. I like the fact that they lock in so they're not going to move once you've put them in. I have seen other mounts where this just comes out and it moves around as you tension it, which is very annoying. So that's kind of good. Now I think for my bike, it's going to be this one here, but we'll see when we get it mounted. Okay, so let's have a little look at how all this thing fits together. So we'd put our little spaces would go in here to fit whatever handlebars you got, and they basically go together. Now, like I mentioned previously, one of these ends has a thread. It looks like it goes to the top. So we'd fit the two sides together. I might just take the spaces out just for the sake of demonstration. We'd put the two sides together. The thread faces up. Now there are 3 bolts that come with this, medium, short, and long. So I'm going to take the medium one. It mounts from the bottom and comes up and screws into the threaded section. Stop. This would screw into the threaded section, like so. The other end, or the thicker one, has this internal, I believe it's an internal tooth washer. So it doesn't actually have this in the instructions, but it has some teeth on it, if you can see that. So it'll fit over that. And then we would mount that from underneath, come up through there, like so. Then this top section would screw down onto this. That would give you your tension between those two. And then this bolt would go through. You have a nylon nut and that would go through and mount to the mounting bracket on your screen. So this is the mounting bracket. So this mounts on your bar, then you set the mounting bracket through here and your screen sticks to that. All right, so this is the mounting bracket that would fit to the back of the screen. So I'll have a look at that. I want you to notice there's some grooves, some cutouts there. And we look at the screw section here. Well, this will be the mounting point for the screen. It actually locks into those spots. So you can move that around how you want it. And then when you push it in, it's not gonna be able to turn once you've pushed it in there. Now you have a short bolt here, which will screw in the back and lock that into place, and then this will not move. So I guess you can figure out which direction that needs to be. And then you have 4 of these bolts here that will go through and mount to the back of your screen. Now these are vibration dampers, I would imagine. So they actually are soft. They're actually pretty soft. So they're gonna take a lot of that vibration out and I guess stop, you know, just damaging the electronics with a lot of those vibrations. Okay, so here is the screen. You can see a bit of a bevel. Might be a bit harder for you to see that, but there is a bit of a bevel around the edge. If we look at the back, you can see there's 4 mounting points where this bracket will mount onto. You've got the plug here. So it looks like you can undo this, and maybe that's what that little screwdriver is, but it doesn't unplug. That's firmly fitted to the back there. And it just looks like it's just a completely sealed unit. There are no on-off switches. It just turns on with the power. And I believe there may be an SD card slot here because I believe it does have the option for that. Maybe we'll take a look, but there's probably an SD card slot there if you want to save anything to the device, but I'm not sure how that would work. Okay, so I've taken the base off just so you can see there is a little metal cover. It goes over the top of that. They do give you this little screwdriver, but to be honest, yeah, I mean, it's good that they include it, but it's, you know, you're probably better off with something a bit easy to use. But if you didn't have anything, I guess you could potentially use it, but I feel like it was going to damage the screws. So I'm not sure what goes in there. It could be to connect other devices like cameras. I think this may be able to do it. I'll let you know. But yeah, there's there's a connection port in there. I thought there was a USB, I thought there was a memory card slot somewhere here. We'll just put this back together and we'll continue on. It's possible that you can connect some cameras to this according to the instructions. Like it has some connections for that, and obviously you've got your wired power, but you've also got some cameras which could potentially be connected to this, so maybe that's what that port is for. Okay, the key thing I want to look at here is how this connects. Now it has two plugs, male and female. There is a little notch in there and a notch cut out here, which you just line these two up, push them together, that gives you a connection, and then there's a little screw-on cap to just lock them together so that will not come apart. Now I'm just gonna, for the sake of this test, use my USB, but if I was using this as a longer term tool, which I might, which a longer term screen, which is kind of the idea, is I would probably mount it directly to the battery using the included cable. So you don't have to worry about, you know, using your USB port. And you can see it's got the same connector there to connect to your screen. Okay, so I'm gonna use my battery power bank to power this and turn it on. Then I can connect it to my phone. So I've already connected it via Bluetooth, but I'm just gonna show you how the screen looks and what it looks like off the bike. I'll just plug it into my battery. Okay, so there we have a screen. We have CarPlay, Android Auto, some settings and brightness. We'll see, it's connecting to, automatically connecting to my phone. And you can see you got Waze, my phone, Spotify, and Google Maps. So we'll blur out some of the privacy details. It has time, everything that you would have on your phone and what you would see if you plug this into your car. So when you're connecting this to your car, you kind of get the exact same layout, so it would be very familiar. There is also an extra button here, which you can go home, you can change the volume. Now there is no speaker in this, so I'm assuming this is just changing your volume in your earpiece if you had this connected to Bluetooth on your phone. You can also look at the brightness, so you can change that, and we can go home and go back to the screen. Now we can also see here it's got some time, etc. Now you've got front and rear wheel sensors. We're going to have a look at that shortly. So we've got our brightness. Now settings, you can look at a few different things here. We're not going to go through all these features, but you've got tire pressure, some other settings here. So you could play around with this. You've got auxiliary button. I don't know, I haven't really played around with a lot of these things, but there's a few options here that you can play around with. Now I'm not going to go through all these in detail, but there is some options to configure your screen. It all seems pretty basic and functional. So yeah, there's an option there to play around with those things. Okay, so one of the things it says it can do is work with gloves. So I'm very curious. So I'm going to put on one of my gloves that I ride with. These are the Dry Rider gloves that I have. And these do have a little pad apparently that helps you work with screens. I've had mixed results with that, but generally let's just see if this works. So it is actually letting me change that. What if I press that over there? Well, that seems to work. It definitely does work. It feels pretty good.
Head east.
You can see that I can move the button. So yeah, I'd say that's pretty good. It works with your gloves. And for me, that's really important because sometimes I've needed to touch my screen and I can't with the gloves on, which is really annoying. Okay, so the other thing I really want to have a look at, we're going to test this on the bike, is the tire pressure monitoring system. So you can go back to the home screen and you can see what your tire pressure is. Now, I think it's important to note that there's A and B on these. So one is the front, one is the rear. So you can tell which is which when you're looking at your screen. But the other thing is how much do these actually weigh? Because you would assume that any kind of weight on your wheel is going to affect the balance of your tire or your rim and your tire combo. And it's balanced without these. So these are going to go on the stems and take the load of the pressure. I'm assuming they're designed to do that. That's just one thing to keep in mind. How much do these put your tires out of balance? You would think it's probably a good idea to put these on and have them balanced. And you'd also want metal valve stems because this is obviously going to have some weight. So there's those things. I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm just mentioning it. So what do they weigh? I've got this currently set at grams. So it's 9 grams. Let's just see if we can switch to 0.3. I'm not familiar with pound ounces. So I'm just going to flick through these for anyone who uses these metrics. So we've got 9 grams. So there you go, it's 9 grams. Overall, they look decent. They seem solid. They're made out of like a hard plastic by the looks of it. Let's have a little look at what's on the inside of those. And they have a locking nut to lock these on. Now, I don't know. I don't know if I'd use these permanently. I think it's cool that they're included. If you really want tire pressure monitoring, I always check my tires every day. The only thing I dislike about these is you've got to lock them on. I believe you do anyway. So it could be a bit annoying taking these on and off just to check your tire pressures. That's kind of the only thing that I have an issue with, but let's test them out on the bike and see how they are. So I have my own tire pressure gauge here, which I use to pump up my tires. I have my own air compressor in my garage, so I'm going to check the pressure of the tire and we'll see what it says on the gauge here. So it's currently 36, which is about where I expect it to be. Now I'm going to put the A1 on the front and see how it is. Now let's go to the back and see what that is. So I'll put the back one on. I thought I was recording, but I wasn't. I'll put the back one on. The back's 40, the front is 36. Now let's get the screen going and compare my gauge connected to my air compressor versus that gauge. Okay, so what we have to do here is go into this tire pressure test in the menu. And I'm going to just click PSI. I want degrees Celsius. Low, I don't know what low would be. Maybe, currently what have I got it at? 26, let's just say 23. And high would maybe be 43 or 44. I don't know, we'll just say 44. And then start matching. I'm not sure if this is, I'm not really sure what's going on there. Let's have a little look. Okay, so it's saying 31 PSI for the rear, 38 for the front. Maybe I've got these around the wrong way because that doesn't make any sense. Let me have a look. All right, so I've been playing around with these tire pressure monitoring. I feel like it's gaslighting me, making me feel like the one that says front is actually like the rear one, if that makes sense. Anyway, I'm gonna keep playing around with that. It hasn't been that straightforward. I'll play around with it a bit more and come back to it. Okay, I'm gonna have a look now at mounting this. I'm gonna take these two. I've taken a little bit of grease and just basically just put it underneath there, just to dab, just to try to help it stick. So when you turn it upside down, they don't fall out. So there's a little bit of grease under there, just to stop them falling out. Now I've also put my washer inside of there. Keep that one in there. Go underneath, push that up. I'm just gonna do something like that. So I've just got that on there. Now if I grab this piece, I'm just gonna screw this on here, just to get a little bit of tension. I might just push that away a little bit. I'm just gonna do that hand tight. Maybe it needs to be that way a bit more. And then we'd put this one out here from underneath. Can't turn it by hand. All right, so I'm not gonna do too much right now because I just wanna work out the position where this is gonna end up. So you can see I've just pushed it over to there. It'll mount here somewhere. So maybe I'll have to turn it a bit more like this or back this way, and we'll see how that needs to look. Let's go and check it out. We're just gonna see how it sits in the mount here. Like that would probably be okay. Something like that maybe. Now it would be better on the opposite side where I've got my quad lock, but just for now, I just wanna see how this is. Now I haven't tightened it up or anything. I'm just kind of sitting it there just to see how it looks when I'm on the bike. Okay, so I'm on the bike now. Obviously this is not the ideal situation because of my clutch cable is in the way. I mean, you could use it there. I haven't tightened this up. It's just kind of sitting there in place. It's probably better off if I had it on this side and move my quad lock, which I probably don't need if I'm happy with this. So let's plug it in. So it goes through the boot up and it'll go automatically into Android Auto. There it goes. All right, so it's super hot here on the bike where we're just sitting at traffic. It actually feels pretty good when we're riding, but yeah, as of right now, it's bloody hot. The goal right now is just to get to a servo. We'll put some fuel in. We've got about a quarter of a tank. I probably don't need to put fuel in because in this heat, it's going to be 35 degrees Celsius today, which is, I think, maybe around 90 Fahrenheit. I'm not 100% sure. I think that's roughly right. We'll put some fuel in, and I really just want to test the brightness of the screen, which so far seems okay. I don't know if it's any brighter than my actual phone screen, to be honest, but it is touch. Kind of a bit difficult to do when you're on the bike. So let's get through these lights and we'll do a bit more of a test. got some fuel. We should pick a destination, see what I think of the directions. So let's find some shade. Mate, it's freaking hot. Alright, so let's try Sunny's at Margate Beach. Now, I have been there before. I'm trying not to go anywhere too far because I need to be back home before it really gets too hot. I don't want to get dehydrated. It's 16 kilometers. So the screen is only 5 inches. Look, I think it does what it's supposed to do. Like you can do what you need to do with it. All right, let's go, and then we should pick up when it connects again. But there might be some traffic along the way, but the whole idea is just to get a feel for what I think of this thing. Like there's a lot of like bezel on the outside. Hey mate, how you doing? I know. I won't be out here for long, I know that. Cheers, buddy. Coming pretty close to me there, coming around that corner. I'm like, what is he doing? So overall, I think so far I'm pretty happy with the screen. Like, it's a big screen. I think the bezels on the edge, it'd be good if the screen was a bit closer to the edge because there's a lot of lost real estate there. I think the size is kind of alright. I was thinking maybe it's going to be a bit small. Yeah, I did think maybe it was going to be a bit small, but so far I think it's alright. Now, being a little bit older, it'd be good if the size of the text and stuff, obviously my eyes are aging, so I can't see as good as I used to, which is why I'm wearing the old man glasses. But I think it is better than my phone. I feel like it's easier to read than my phone, and I feel like the brightness, which is all the way up, is better than my phone. Sometimes I really struggle to see my phone, especially on the motorway. So yeah, I think it is good. Now I can't hear anything because I don't have any earpieces in or anything. I've just got earbuds in, well, earplugs to deaden the sound. But there's no real surprises here. It's Android Auto. It's what you're going to find in a car, on your phone. It's the same interface. It's really just a matter of, does this display do better than, say, putting your phone on your bars? I'm going to deviate over to Redcliffe because it's closer and it's bloody hot today, and I feel like the trip that we're doing is sufficient enough to really evaluate the screen. So we didn't go all the way to Margate Beach. We came to Redcliffe. Now I haven't actually been to Redcliffe on the bike. The last time they blocked off the road. I'll give you a bit of a look at Redcliffe. Okay, so what do I think of this product overall? Actually, it surprised me. It is a pretty budget product, so it's a good entry-level product if you just want something that's simple. I like the way it doesn't have an app. There's nothing to install on your phone. You just connect it via Bluetooth, just the way you would with your car. And it does everything that it says out of the box. It is also dust and waterproof, so it'll be fine in the rain. It means you don't have to have your phone on your handlebars and potentially either drop your phone or damage your phone in any way, being on your bike, overheating your phone. You can keep your phone in your pocket. Now, if you come off your bike, in that unfortunate instance, you may, be moved away from your bike or fall in a different direction from your bike, and maybe you can't get to your bike. So you wouldn't have your phone on you. I like the idea of having my phone in my pocket. Now, it is just a GPS, like from your phone. In some cases, it's probably not going to work just the way your phone won't work. But I think that's fair for the price. It's not supposed to be a super expensive product like we have with some of the Garmin products, for example. But I think this is a very good entry-level product. It does what it says on the tin. It connects to your phone. It has the tire pressure monitoring if you want it, although I've kind of had mixed results. I'm still playing around with that. But generally, I think for the price point, it's something that I would definitely be interested in. So if you've made it this far into the video, thank you very much. You're the reason this channel is growing. I appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, give us a like, and we'll see you on the next Harley adventure.